What is up, guys? It's your boy back with another banger. You know what I'm saying? Today we back with another video, man. We're reacting to grading every 2013 NBA Draft Lottery Selection. 7 years later, it's by Hoops Reference. Let's get into it, man. Let's get it.
Once again back with another installment in this series where we go draft to draft, and with the context we have now years later, use it to give a grade to every pick made based on how successful or unsuccessful it worked out for the teams. In this video, we're moving on to the draft class of 2013, which at the time was seen as a pretty weak class, but has actually proved to be quite strong in some areas, just not in the expected places. Included are a few big time busts from players that were expected to be great, and some of the slept on picks have proven to break out and exceed all expectations. Before all of this though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Starting with the first pick in this draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers shocked the world and took Anthony Bennett. For some context as to why this was so surprising, in the pre-draft process at the
Just a
time,
bad pick,
literally
man.
nobody expected Bennett to even be in the conversation for the number one pick. Yes, he was seen as a very strong talent, and in most mock drafts was firmly cemented as a lottery pick, but at number one overall, pretty much everyone viewed this as a reach. So right off the bat, his career had a ton of question marks, and when he actually started playing for the team, he didn't exactly help his case much. He would only average 4 points in his rookie season while struggling mightily on both ends of the floor,
4
and the
points?
Cavaliers gave up on him after just that season when they traded him to the Timberwolves. Bennett is now one of the biggest busts in NBA history, and after 4 seasons in the league, never earned a second contract for himself, with the last time he played in the NBA coming in 2017. This pick gets a whole new grade never seen before in the series, being the lowest of low F-, because it simply doesn't get any worse than this. Next up with the second pick in the draft, the Orlando Magic selected Victor Oladipo. Oladipo coming out of college was always a very strong defender, but his offensive game took a while to come into fruition fully. His days in Orlando had their ups and downs, with questionable coaching through those years, leading to his role fluctuating a good bit, but there were always flashes of stellar play in his game. We now know that Oladipo's one of the best two-way shooting guards in the NBA, having made the all-defense team and being a two-time All-Star. The problem, though, is that he didn't accomplish those things with the Magic, as they traded him away in a deal that only landed them Serge Ibaka, so they didn't even see the development to stardom. The pick could have been an A+ for them, but since they shipped him off too early, they only get an A-. Next up with the third pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards selected Otto Porter Jr. When the Wizards were at their peak over the last few years, they had John Wall and Bradley Beal leading the way, but Porter played his role tremendously on those teams as the third option. On the wing, he spaced the floor exceptionally by knocking down over 40% of his threes in 3 straight seasons, putting up about 14 points per game, and giving the team a little bit of playmaking to help ease the pressure of their star guards. He may have never had star potential and wasn't exactly great at any one thing, but he was very good in several different areas. So even for a top 3 pick, he was solid. This pick gets a B grade, being pretty good overall. Next up with the fourth pick in the draft, the Charlotte Bobcats selected Cody Zeller. This was the last season that the team was known as the Bobcats before changing to the Hornets, as they were hoping to leave the pretty negative stigma that the Bobcats had behind them. But before they switched, they used their final top pick to add yet another mediocre talent. Zeller has played his entire career in Charlotte, and in those 7 seasons, he's been an above-average rotational center that does everything you want your center to do well enough, but he doesn't exactly wow in any areas either. He's a guy who will give you 10 points and 6 rebounds per game, night in and night out, and stay within himself. Again, it's a decent pick, just not a good one. So for the grade, this one gets a C+. Next up with the fifth pick in the draft, the Phoenix Suns selected Alex Len.
Alex Len is the exact same thing as Cody Zeller is. They're both just average centers, you know what I'm saying? Just average dudes.
Len had all of the physical tools and athletic attributes to make NBA scouts salivate at the time, because at 7'1", he had a 7'3" wingspan and the mobility teams love for modern-day bigs. He flashed potential to become a big-time playmaker on both ends of the floor in college, but at the NBA level, things just never really clicked for him. He was given plenty of opportunity in Phoenix to develop and succeed. having started about half the games he played in his.
And those jerseys look so much weird. This looks so weird. Like without the Nike symbol. I kind of like that though. I kind of like it without the Nike symbol and without the little sponsorship. Just like just a plain jersey. Because that's back in 2016. I remember those days, man. I kind of like it.
His time there, while the team was typically pretty bad and focusing on youth development, but his ceiling just wasn't apparently as high as scouts thought it was. He's at best a backup center that can give a few good minutes here and there and nothing more, so the grade for this pick is unfortunately a D+. With the 6th pick in the draft, the Pelicans selected and then immediately traded Nerlens Noel to the Philadelphia 76ers. Had Noel been healthy at the time of the draft, he very likely would have been in consideration for the number 1 pick, but health concerns led him to slip. Him missing his entire first season in the league is what started the Sixers' rookie curse as well. With that being said, though, he was still seen as a potential elite rim protected
He's not like big and bulky. He's skinny. You know what I'm saying? So he can run. He can run up and down the court. He got a high vertical. He can block shots. He's just athletic, and he can catch lobs and stuff. I like guys like that.
On defense that causes havoc on that end by blocking shots and allowing no easy baskets. His time in Philadelphia was definitely pretty good, especially on defense, but he was doing it for one of the worst teams in the league. He was once seen as a potential Defensive Player of the Year candidate, but now, 7 years later, he's proven to only really be a backup center that provides pretty good energy and holds it down in the middle on defense. The pick gets a grade of a B- only for being slightly above average. Up next with the 7th pick in the draft, the Sacramento Kings selected Ben McLemore. McLemore, at least in appearance, was drawing lofty comparisons back in 2013. Some, as crazy as this may sound, were even comparing him to the next Ray Allen because of his movement off the ball, shooting tendencies, and shooting form. He had similar physical attributes and a similar playstyle, but being realistic, it's always tough to compare prospects like that to one of the best shooters of all time, because it's just setting them up for failure. McLemore's career to this point has been fairly disappointing, but not just because he isn't the next Ray Allen, but because his streaky production has not even proven worthy of being in a team starting lineup. He's played 4 seasons in Sacramento, filled with plenty of highs and lows, and decent shooting from the perimeter, and overall, this pick gets a grade of a C.
He's doing good in Houston, though.
With the 8th pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons selected Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. KCP was the prototypical 3-and-D prospect of this class, and in college showed off effortless.
He was actually good, though. He was supposed to be good.
This pick gets a grade of a C.
KCP was nice.
Next up with the 8th pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons selected Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. KCP was the prototypical 3-and-D prospect of this class, and in college showed off effortless shooting ability from all over the court and a motor to make a difference on the defensive end. He had long arms, good overall size, and the production to make it worth taking him in the lottery. In the NBA, though, as has been a pretty consistent theme in this video, that potential just didn't quite translate completely. He by no means has been bad, however his shooting ability in Detroit was not what it was hyped up to be, and oftentimes he fell on the side of being inefficient. His shot definitely started to improve recently on the Lakers, but obviously that doesn't help the Pistons who drafted him. Regardless, he put up about 14 points per game in Detroit, played pretty good defense, and the grade for this pick is a B-.
14 points is pretty.
Next up with the 9th pick in the draft, the Utah Jazz selected Trey Burke. Despite being slightly undersized, Burke took the college game by storm by leading his Michigan team all the way to the championship and knocking down some massive shots along the way. His ability to shake defenders and create space for himself was sure to translate to the NBA most thought, but when the time came for him to prove it, he struggled to do so against professional defenders. He was a double-digit scorer, but his efficiency was poor, shooting below average from the field and from 3 in his time in Utah. A lot of guards in the draft have seemed to fizzle out quickly this year, and unfortunately Burke gets added to that list, so the grade for this pick is a C-. Next up with the 10th pick in the draft, the Portland Trail Blazers selected CJ McCollum. After all of the underperforming players we've mentioned, we now arrive at a breakthrough player who actually exceeded all expectations for himself.
He's like an all-star.
McCollum led Lehigh to an upset win over Duke in March Madness that year to boost his draft stock. Then, after 2 years as a bench player getting integrated to the NBA, he worked his way into the starting lineup in year 3 and has been a 20-point-per-game scorer ever since. Him and Damian Lillard have made for one of the most dynamic and productive backcourts in the league, and McCollum's shot creating and playmaking ability as a second option opens things up so much for those around him. This pick definitely gets an A+ grade because for someone who wasn't one of the first names off the board, the team landed borderline all-star talent. Up next with the 11th pick in the draft, the Philadelphia 76ers selected Michael CarterWilliams. This pick is another very interesting one to look
at. I don't know, man. I would say an F because he's trash, but well, he's not trash, but he's not good. You know what I'm saying? But his first season, he won Rookie of the Year, so you can't really give it an F.
Back at and try to grade, because MCW's career has been, to say the least, kinda weird. He burst onto the scene as a rookie and won Rookie of the Year behind averages of 17 points, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds per game, while also providing some very strong disruptive defense. But ever since then, his career has gotten significantly worse. Midway through his second season, the Sixers traded him to the Bucks in exchange for a first-round pick, which in hindsight, knowing how much he would fall off, is excellent return value. Because of this, the pick wasn't actually that bad and gets a decent grade of a C+. Next up with the 12th pick in the draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder selected Steven Adams. The Thunder's best days with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook at the helm saw those two get most of the glory, but Adams himself developed into a rock in the middle that helped make a lot of things work around him. Yeah. He's one of the hardest screen setters in the league, he's unbelievable at boxing players out on the boards to allow either himself or a teammate grab the rebound and go, and his top-tier strength makes sure no one bullies him inside. Plus, every season his offensive game seems to get more and more polished, and his touch around the basket is very good. He may not be a star, but he's the perfect glue guy for a contending team, and because of that, this pick gets a grade of an A. Next up with the 13th pick in the draft, the Dallas Mavericks selected Kelly Olynyk, then traded him to the Celtics immediately. Olynyk has carved out a role in the league by being the prototypical stretch big man that provides relatively good versatility and floor spacing. He was a double-digit scorer twice in Boston, shot over 40% from deep one season, and just managed to give the team consistently good minutes off the bench.
Bro, who remembers Kelly Olynyk in that Game 7 against the Wizards, bro? When he just went off. Yo, I remember that, bro. Because I liked Isaiah Thomas, but I look-key wanted John Wall to go to the, you know what I'm saying? I wanted them to win, kind of. Well, actually, I didn't really care. Because I like Isaiah Thomas and John Wall, but, man, that guy just went off, bro. Everyone remembers that in the Celtics.
For someone at the end of the lottery, he's the kind of player you should hope to find at minimum, because as long as he's a valuable member of a rotation in the league playing his role well, then he's a pick that worked out. So this pick gets an average grade of a B-. Up next with the 14th pick in the draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves selected Shabazz Muhammad. Muhammad's career has been one of the more disappointing ones to date because coming out of high school, he was receiving similar hype to guys like Andrew Wiggins. He had a very deep scoring ability with a plethora of different ways to get by his man and get a bucket. However, he also had a ton of glossed over weaknesses that eventually got exposed at the NBA level. For one, his defense was kind of horrendous, plus he struggled mightily shooting from three. So as someone who's
Yo, that's what I thought he was. That's what I thought he was. Especially in 2K. Like on the Timberwolves, bro. That's what I thought he was supposed to be, just a 3-and-D player. I had no idea he couldn't shoot and he was bad at defense. Bro, what? Okay.
Primary contribution to a team was scoring. He wasn't built for the modern NBA. He worked mostly in the mid-range and out of the post, which just isn't something teams focus on nowadays, and his lack of playmaking, defense, and floor spacing resulted in his NBA career fizzling out in 2018. So because of this, the pick gets a grade of an F. Now, normally I would stop at the end of the lottery in these videos, but today I'm making an exception to briefly discuss the 15th pick.
Honest, I don't know. Probably like a D+, maybe. I mean, he's alright, but I don't know.
Because it just so happened to be where the Milwaukee Bucks drafted Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Giannis that the Bucks took at the time and the Giannis we all know now are like two completely different people because he was as big
He's
of a
okay.
project
He's
as
not all
humanly
that, bro.
possible. He was super skinny
He's
and
a
lacked most
eh.
basic fundamental skill, but the
He's
raw
low-key trash.
potential
I
of his
don't even know how he's
athleticism,
still in the league, bro.
size, speed, and length were there, and due to his incredibly hard work ethic, he's now one of the best players in the entire NBA and an MVP winner. Obviously, this pick was a home run, but for the first time in this series, the pick gets the ultimate max grade of an A++ because you
No,
simply can't
I don't
dream.
know. I'm just playing, obviously. Obviously, this is an A plus 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 plus. You know what I'm saying? To get him out of the lottery, MVP, bro. Giannis is like my favorite player, low key. Actually, he's like my favorite player behind James Harden. Either him or Harden. They, you know what I'm saying? They switch around, but this man, he can do everything. He can post up. He can rebound. He runs the floor like a guard. You know what I'm saying? Like Steph Curry. He's fast, super fast. He can get up the court in like a few steps. You know what I'm saying? A few long steps. You know, he's just fast and he can start shooting a little bit now. He can shoot a little bit. He's a decent playmaker. You know what I'm saying? He just got everything. He's just the best. Not the best player in the league because LeBron is, but Giannis is that dude.
Of
He's
finding
that
a better
dude, bro.
player in the middle of the
That
first
dude.
round.
I'm
And
not
with
even
that
like
being
trying to
said, that's all I have for you
deride
today.
nobody, but
Make sure to like the
seriously,
video,
bro.
subscribe to the channel, and comment down below.
All right, that's gonna cap off the video, man. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to my main channel, like the video, and comment down below what you want me to react next. And I'll see you guys later. Peace out.